Welcome to the MilSurf Mike channel. This video will discuss and show the fairly rare Albanian Independence Carbine, their SKS, a firearm that was unknown in the United States until the 2000s. A main SKS source for years, Duncan Long's SKS book in 1992, makes no mention of the Albanian-made SKSs, only mentioning Soviet imports to the country. I recently released a video that dove into the history of the Chinese Type 56 carbine, their SKS, link in the card above. In that dive, I went over the history of the Sino-Soviet split during the late 1950s to the first half of the 1960s. The split was so acrimonious that the two communist powerhouses disliked each other more than they disliked the United States. During the split, smaller communist countries within their spheres of influence would choose sides. In general, the Southeast communist nations that practiced the Maoist version of communism would side with China, while most Eastern European nations would stick with the Soviet Union, as if any of them had a choice. One exception to this was Albania. Stepping back a bit, Albania sits between Greece, the former Yugoslavia, and the Aegean Sea. Albania gained independence on July 10, 1912, after the Balkan states defeated the Ottoman Empire. The fledgling nation would barely last through World War I, and would only survive Versailles thanks to the insistence of Woodrow Wilson, instead of basically being incorporated into Yugoslavia, Greece, and Italy. The country would be very impoverished under King Zog in the 1920s and 30s. Italy would invade in 1940 as a base to attack Greece. Greece and Great Britain would beat the Italians back, so Hitler ordered an invasion of the Balkans, and Albania would be under Nazi occupation. The Communists would be the main opposition to the Nazis, but they would quarrel with the British, who were supplying them weapons and advice. They spent more time fighting right-wing guerrilla groups than the Nazis, and would descend into all-out civil war by 1943. The Communists, led by Enver Hoxha, prevailed, and when the Nazis left in 1944, Hoxha assumed control of the country. Hoxha would avoid attempts to liberalize like Tito in Yugoslavia, because Yugoslavia had notions of incorporating Albania. Albania would form close ties with the Soviet Union, which would become even closer after Yugoslavia broke off close ties with the Russians in 1948. Stalin offered Hoxha protection from Yugoslavia, giving them millions in economic and military assistance. Hoxha would also pick up Stalin's paranoid, dictator-style leadership. Other communist nations would break from Albania when they looked for better relations with the West, and Hoxha would break from the Soviet Union in 1961 as Khrushchev looked to liberalize at home and seek better relations with the West himself. While still technically a member of the Warsaw Pact, they neither gave or received assistance from the other Warsaw Pact nations. Leonid Brezhnev would basically ignore Albania when he came to power in 1964, and they would officially leave the Warsaw Pact in 1968. Mao Zedong and China would step in and provide assistance. China was in the middle of the Sino-Soviet split themselves, and I went into detail about that in the Chinese SKS video. They would provide aid with Type 56 carbines, Type 63 carbines, and Type 53 Mosins. China would help set up 25 industrial plants along with 3 arms factories, and Albania would gain the license to produce their own SKS in 1962. Chinese-style land reform would work about as well as the Great Leap Forward in China did, causing even deeper poverty and isolation. As China sought closer relations with the West in the 1970s, Hoxha would break off relations with China in 1978, 2 years after Mao's death. Albania was totally alone and isolated. The factories and machinery built under Soviet and Chinese stewardship would become idle as there were no spare parts to fix them and they broke down. The collective farms would resort to forced manual labor. Throughout all this, Hoxha would rely on his secret police, the Sigurimi, as well as Stalin-like purges to control dissent. Hoxha would die in 1985, but his successor was no Khrushchev, as Albania's deterioration would continue until 1991, when the communist government was finally overthrown. Alright, now that we know what went on in the nation of Albania, let's talk a little bit about the SKS itself. This is the Type 56-1 SKS, also known as the quote-unquote Independence Carbine. As mentioned earlier, China built several industrial plants in Albania, including the arms plant at Gramsh, and that's where the Type 56-1 was built. Now, the Type 56-1 is based off the Chinese Type 56, but there are a few differences between the two. The biggest one starting out, let's move this back just a little bit so you can see the you have them even with each other. The stock and the handguard both come out to the end of the gas block on the Albanian SKSs, where they're a lot shorter on the Chinese and Russian and just about every other SKS. Another way to identify an Albanian pretty quick is that you have the AK style charging handle as opposed to the regular charging handle on the Chinese SKS. The Albanian has 2 spots for cleaning kits on the buttstock, whereas the Chinese and most other SKSs have just 1 for a cleaning kit, and I actually have a cleaning kit in the Chinese one here. And the bayonet on the Albanian SKS is just a tad shorter than on the Chinese SKS. There's a few sling swivel placements that are different, but like I said, it's very similar with these very few differences. So I'm going to clean up a little bit more history and talk about my experiences shooting the SKS. But before I do that, if you learned something so far, please give me a like below. $20,000 would be manufactured between 1967 and 1978, with a gap between 1972 and 75, and the carbine was mainly used by internal police forces. A studious pattern collector of these rifles, Glenn Reinders, claims that there are only 16,950 produced, and there are only 5,700 left in the world, as NATO and the UN would destroy many of the carbines in the 1990s to prevent them from being used by guerrilla groups or make their way into the Balkan Wars. The Albanian Independence rifle was unknown to most collectors until Tennessee Guns International bought the Albanian stock and imported them to the U.S. in 2002. My rifle was made in 1970. Albanian rifles are pretty easy to date, as there's the last 2 digits of the year after the serial number. There are some undated examples, but there's no consensus on when these were made. Pre-1967, post-1978, or during the gap years. While some have found the QC to be questionable, it appears that the main goal in producing the rifle was just for it to shoot. Mine seems to shoot alright, although as with my Chinese SKS, I haven't attempted to stretch its legs out. I don't have a good enough scale to weigh it, but there's at least a perceivable difference in weight between the Albanian and the Chinese or Soviet carbines. The added stock seems to make it a little heavier. The AK-style charging handle leaves less to grab onto when charging. Overall, though, this is a great, fairly rare piece to add to my collection. Please join the GOA and get $5 off your membership with the link in the description. Did I miss something? What firearm do you want to learn about next? Please let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and as always, have a great day.